You're live. All right.
Now we get quiet.
Wait till and then we can probably start. We're just hanging out here for about 20 minutes. You think people watch this on replay?
What are we doing?
Yeah, we're live. We're letting the people.
Well, we don't have any viewers, so
We're letting our 5 viewers join.
Oh, don't worry about the viewers, man. Let's just
run with it.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough sell with the World Series on.
Agreed.
Right? All right, let's kick it off. All right, so CCC edition of Short Circuit Podcast here. And I'll let the gentlemen introduce themselves. Graham Duff is out tonight. He's been replaced to get the West Coast demographic involved. So why don't you start it off, Brian?
Brian with the Goats out of Las Vegas.
Eric?
Eric with Hazard, Orlando.
Got it.
And Scott out of New Orleans with Boston for pitching temps.
It's so bad. No one knows when to go.
Zach Shoemaker here with Dope out of Atlanta.
All right. All right, let's kick it off. We'll jump right in. So no dominant teams on circuit this year or ones that won multiple events. So competition, is this like a reflection of teams, a little bit of parity going on, effects from rules last year? You want to kick us off, Eric?
Yeah, it's probably a combination of two things. One, well, the top teams didn't really travel much. Sit, Shockwave, V traveled light for a couple. Even Relax, I don't think traveled much. Y'all weren't a top team yet. No one knew what y'all were going to do. So, yeah, I think it's part that. And then the middle, like all the middle teams have, A, gotten better, and the middle has grown. So, like, there's not a lot of chaff anymore, and there's just this huge middle section. And most of them can compete and at least play smart against the top teams. So you don't see those blowouts anymore. And I think it's trending in the right direction. Maybe the rules have something to do with it, but
Ryan, agree?
Yeah, I agree with all that, really. I mean, I think it's a combination, I think a little bit with the rules. But I think it's just the sport's growing. You have the emergence center that thread that Blake started a little while back with the rookies. People just went off talking about all these new guys that are on circuit, and whether they were a rookie this year or last year, they were still unknown this year. Cabo kind of became, a household name. But, Hale from PI, a lot of guys don't even know his name. They just know PI has a Charger with a cannon now. You got these new guys that are, what's that?
It's Wildfire Charger, Tommy Hill.
You just have like these new, these emerging, guys and girls that are coming out and just making teams stronger. You're taking, these middle of the road teams and making them that much better. So I think it's just a combination of that, but I think it's more along the lines of teams getting more talented.
So Scott, like the rules have changed. Is that affecting top teams traveling and letting some of these middle teams get a taste that maybe they wouldn't have gotten if, Sitch travels more, V-Fly, V-Fly travels more or Vince or whatever?
I think like most of it's just being aged out at the top level. The top level teams always have like senior talent that is just kind of starting, like their roles and lives are changing a lot at this point. I think we're just in that like weird like transition time. The standings versus rankings thing I think is interesting. That's probably a bigger topic to me. But I just feel like the middle's great. I think there's more parity in the middle, and then the top, like I said, just age is caught up with the top more than anything.
Yeah. Anything else there, Zach?
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of covered it all. I think really what we saw this year was teams like Flying V, Sitch, Shockwave taking tournaments off or stepping back a little bit more and not being able to travel as heavily as they did before. And so I think that left a lot of room for teams like Blackout, Second Line, even pitch intents to come up and start playing a lot of the limbs games. And I think that there's something too, like some of those middle tier teams or teams that were even bottom tier last year, getting some of that hunger from playing in the playoffs and the limbs. That's a big deal. And you also learn where your weaknesses are and how to manage your pitching staff and how to manage your charger catcher better. I think that's really helped those bottom tier teams or the middle tier teams step up a lot more. So not having a dominant team definitely left a lot of open places for people to fill in where you just kind of didn't see it coming. I mean, look at lot lizards. You know, lizards, Hazard, second line. Everybody got some really, really, really big wins this year, and I think it was great for the game. I think it was a big benefit all year.
All right, so I guess in that same vein, let's jump back to you, Scott. So you have rules that make it so some of the dominant teams can't recruit all year and kind of build it to hit lots of tournaments and let some of these younger teams come up and play a few more. So on the available side, we had some rule changes this year. So do you think the rules should continue to tighten on availables, or are they tight enough already, or even loose?
For me, I mean, I think it can use a little tweaking. I don't think it's far off right now. In my opinion, like an avails team shouldn't be a bin one team. I think that's my biggest issue. I think if they can find a way to keep it to where at least you're keeping your top teams happy that are traveling. I think like the biggest thing people forget about the past, you used to have like this 2-player transfer per year. So teams used to travel more when you could play with, like, you could start your year with another team, hop back to yours. Like, you can bounce around a little bit more. Like, players used to have like 2 teams, a team for the start of the year and a team for the end of the year. And that changed, which I think has built the whole availables team bigger because, you know, some teams like, I think like Cobra Kai was a good example, like the GKO like 2014. You know, they picked up like Patio for like the first 2 tournaments and then had him until he went back for OSC to start traveling later in the year. So now we have Cobra Kai going with like what they feel is a competitive team. They made the, I think, Final Four that year. So like that rule change and like that per player transfer and how that's gotten locked down has really like shaped, I feel like, what is forcing now more players to travel at a high level at availables where they used to be able to like maybe hop on a team like that and kind of like pick up a tournament or 2 and keep a name like Cobra Kai in the tournament, which doesn't happen anymore.
Right, Zach. So how your thoughts on changing around the availables?
I don't have a solution. I do think it's a problem when 4 or 5 events are getting dominated by availables teams. I don't know what the solution is. I do think availables teams were really crucial this year because it got a ton of regular circuit players to travel to events that they may not have otherwise gone to because their top teams weren't going to go. So I think that was a really big benefit. Selfishly speaking, I know Dope got put out of tournaments, like 3 tournaments in a row by availables teams that were just stacked with guys like Gene, Bez, and others. And I think maybe finding a way to balance those availables teams with some of the lower tier availables teams might make the tournaments a little bit more competitive and also a little more fun because, frankly, like when availables are in the finals, people don't seem to be nearly as hyped at the finals. And I think when 2 big name teams are in the finals, that's been like some of the greatest tournament atmosphere. So overall, I think that the availables thing needs a little bit of tweaking, but it's mainly to prevent, the super teams from coming to 4 or 5 events together and just dominating. That's the only thing. I just don't know what the solution is.
Yeah, and Brian, I know you're a homegrown type guy and a big guy, on franchises and kind of building a sport around that. But what are your thoughts here on availables and how they affect the good and the bad? What should be done?
I definitely have pros and cons. Both directions. I mean, I love the local feel and all that, but I was also on some pretty good availables teams this year. Our San Diego team on paper was insanely good, but we didn't really perform, so that's probably a bad example. But I enjoyed it, man. I met some new people, played with some new people. I love availables teams. I think they're a lot of fun. But I'm with Zach and you guys, man. I don't like when it's the same group, the same crew that doesn't really care about the 75% cut or the 50% cut. that they want to just go through and mow everyone down. You know, I'm not a big fan of that. I like the competition, you know, from the competitor in me doesn't really care, you know, build as good a team as you want and I'm going to try and beat you. But as far as the game goes and the lower tier teams or the middle tier teams, like you guys mentioned, you know, those teams are never going to have a chance. You know, if they see that team in a round of 16 or a round of 8, you know, there's no chance. So, you know, I like it in some ways, but as far as what's better for the sport, I think it needs to be balanced.
Yeah, and I mean a little bit of a call out to you on like helping out. You know, I know you played on some availables teams this year. You also traveled to play on some to help coach some guys up. And I think things like that, when you talk about lower, you know, smaller, more local availables teams, those are things where having some veteran players really helps develop and give them a path to success or see what success looks like. So a little bit of props there because I know we faced you in Nashville. I think when you traveled to play that.
Yeah, Nashville is fun.
All right, so Eric, I want to end this similar question here, but you know, what do you think should be, you know, your thoughts on if it should change or not, and then really like, do you want it to become tighter or looser, or do you think it's about where it needs to be?
I actually have a different thought process on what the perceived issue is. Like, I love availables, you know what I mean, and build the strongest availables team you can, and send them to GKO, like just happened. And they're out in the Elite 8. You know, so like a big tournament like GKO or South Florida or something like that, they don't seem to be an issue. You know what I mean? They seem to have the same struggles availables have always had with the gelling and coming up against a real team. The problem is you send them to Portland or Arizona or Boston, one of these smaller tournaments. So maybe if there's some way to balance it for those tournaments, like do something special. I don't really know, don't really have any ideas. But I think that could curb a lot of the frustration. And like, what was it, last year in Boston? I know it was sick, but they were still an availables team last year for all intents and purposes. And they like mercy ruled everyone. They mercy ruled the finals. Like, that's not fun for anyone, not even the players playing in it.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so let's switch. Let's switch it up a little bit here. So, standings versus rankings. Just I want to get thoughts. I mean, you know, I played for Dope. We clearly benefited from traveling a lot this year, doing pretty well in some events. But you know, there's an argument to be made that, you know, ranking should be the way to go for CCC. Just interested in the thoughts from you guys on whether the standings should exist, what role they should play, and should it kind of be a thing for CCC. Why don't you kick us off, Zach?
It's tough to start with me just because I know that we got the overall one, but I mean, as I kind of pointed out to Brian on Facebook a few days ago, like, I mean, we went to 7 tournaments to beat and had to win one of the biggest tournaments to be able to beat out Goat's performance. So, but I think that what you want to do at Circuit Cup is you want to reward teams for traveling a lot and give them the best opportunity to succeed at Circuit Cup. And I know that, like, a couple of years ago when I was captaining Afternoon Delight, like, getting the opportunity to get into a limb at Circuit Cup was a huge boost and exciting. And I think that giving teams that travel a lot the incentive at the best chance at getting to a limbs at Circuit Cup is a good thing. It just makes you hungrier for the next year, makes you more likely to come back. So I like that. And so I'm just for the standings for that reason, I think.
Brian?
Yeah, I love standings. I like how each year, you know, Circuit Cup is based on how you did that year. The 2-year rankings, I mean, they're cool to kind of see how you're doing, you know, over the course of your franchise, so to speak. I mean, like for Goats, it's been really cool watching us start at like 80, you know, and each tournament, each year we climb up that 2-year ranking. That's kind of cool, but, you know, I don't know if anybody has a those rankings are so confusing. So I think you have, you know, if you judge CCC based off of that, you could be judging CCC based on how somebody did the first half of 2016 and it's going to affect CCC 2017. So I'm not a big fan of that. And yeah, I mean, it's people ought to be traveling. Teams ought to be traveling together. You know, I mean, if you want to do well at CCC and you want to do well as a team and you want your team to be cohesive and have chemistry, I mean, you got to be traveling. You know, you do 1 or 2 events. If you're not one of these long established, you know, like a Sitch or a V that has been together so long, they can probably do 1 or 2 and get by at CCC. But teams like us, teams like GOATs, if we do 1 or 2 and then try to do CCC, it will be all over the place. So, you know, I like that it's based on standings. You know, I think it's fine just the way it is.
Yeah, I don't know that anyone really knows how the rankings actually work. I've seen a lot of people try to calculate it out on Circuit Talk.
It's math, man. It's real simple, all right?
Math. A lot of math. Just throw the numbers together.
Math.
Eric, like, what your thoughts on standings versus rankings for Circuit Cup?
I don't really see a big issue with it. I know some people were talking about like being in the butter zone, you know, like Rebels now gets an easier path, they were saying, but like Rebels pool's still hard as shit, you know. But they didn't benefit at all from only going to one tournament.
Yeah, but by chance, not their crossovers cakes. I mean, that's my issue with it. You know, it's like you do better. Like Lot Lizards and Second Line's a great example. Like they traveled a lot, so they got the travel bonus, but their performance necessarily doesn't reflect the crossover they're getting now. So I'm kind of on the opposite end of you guys, where I agree with the top, but I feel like the top teams are still going to be there. They still would have been ranked there anyway. I feel like it's actually hurting some of the teams like that are getting a murder crossover, where they may have excelled better. I don't know. I'm on the other end.
Yeah. So let's just start with you on this. So, you know, I think as part of a balance on it going from the draft, using draft crossovers this year was an attempt to kind of balance standings or allow things to see them out. So you think that was a better overall choice for this, given the decision made to use standings as it is each year?
Who, me? Or
First off, Scott.
I mean, crossovers it's better for the middle for certain. I don't know if this is the tournament to me. I mean, I kind of agree with some of the other guys. I think ultimately, like, the top teams are still going to do fine, crossovers or not. It's all going to come down to limbs for them. I think it's just making a weird path. Oh, what's that?
You would have done 8 pools of 5?
I mean, I think avoiding crossovers for this one would have been better. I think the only counterbalance is the 24 teams advancing. I think that's a good trade-off. I think that makes sense to me, but, you know, the structure has been bouncing around. I don't know. I would have preferred not seeing crossovers in this one personally, but I don't know. I don't think the structure of the event was necessarily like clear to anyone at this point. I mean, I think the top's going to be fine, and I think the teams that are the most vocal about it aren't the ones that are really going to get screwed by it. So they're just complaining because it's kickball. But beyond that, I think it's tougher for some of the middle teams that have tough draws.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always a frustration is going to be, you know, same thing for me was, you know, why is it not clear going into CCC how it's going to be done? But, you know, on the flip side, there has to be a little flex in it. It just you'd hope it'd be hashed out a little bit earlier. Eric, so let's just jump a topic here and then, you know, kind of lead in from the 24 advancing out of the 40. How important is that bye now? And are we going to see teams that are on the cusp, like throwing aces in the 4th game to try and lock down that spot?
I think it depends on how you're set up, what you're bringing, how much depth you got. Like, I would venture to guess if he doesn't give a shit about a bye. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, we're coming way lighter than we wanted to. And that bye would mean the world to us. You know, that's a whole other game we're not going to cramp out in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. I know the buys have tended to screw a lot of teams over in tournaments in the past, but it's CCC. You're bringing everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the buy thing is, you heard Philip talk about it on the last podcast. If he gets a buy, he wants to be running around out in the heat for an hour. Because
yeah, I don't buy it.
His team can do it, and it helps them.
Especially not in Nashville.
Yeah. Brian, your thoughts on 24? You got a good squad over there with goats, so you gonna try and throw an ace out there earlier than you would to steal the bye?
Shouldn't be like for us. It shouldn't be anything different than normal. I mean, we usually throw Pat between 2 and 4 innings in pool, no matter what. He likes to see each game and kind of tune up a little bit throughout the pool play, but I don't really see him throwing more in pool unless we're 3-0. If we're 3-0 going into our 4th game and game 4 is really tight, he might throw another inning or 2 just to maybe try and lock it up. But yeah, I mean we're deep at all the other spots, so I'm not as worried to play that extra game as I am, or for the rest of the team as I am for Pat, because we live and die by Pat. If he's wearing down the limbs, we're in trouble. So it's going to be a very calculated, thing for us. It's going to be right there on that border. It's hard to say exactly how it's going to go, but we're not going to do anything reckless. I'm not going to go throw him 10 innings in pool play just to try and get a bye, basically. But I will throw him an extra 1 or 2 if that's what it takes.
All right, so Zach, we're going to start with you on the next topic, which is Hit Town, where you guys take a dump on other teams. All right.
That's what we're good at.
Little animosity.
Well, thanks for that.
Zach, any team you really want to, that you personally want to have a chance to send home at this tournament?
Personally want to have a chance to send home.
Yeah, who do you want a shot at to be able to, who would give you joy? Who would you want to beat that would give you great joy?
You know what? I think because he's sitting on this podcast, I want to take down goats. We have not faced goats. We've faced everybody. We've faced most of the top teams on this list this year, but we haven't played goats. And we're the top 2 teams of the year for the standings. And I think it'd be awesome. And I've never faced Pat, so I think that would be really cool too.
Careful what you wish for.
I think being able to play against goats would be really fun, especially after watching the absolute throttling they put on Relax out in Portland. When those 2 teams were really jawing each other, I think it'd be fun to play goats too. So I think goats would be the one team I'd like to be able to take out in this tournament.
All right, well, that's a good segue. Brian?
I like it. Funny you say that because my bracket actually has a dope goats final. So let's both do our jobs and we'll make sure that happens. I'd rather not see you.
Pat a little bit more.
I'd rather not see you early though. Let's see, a team that I really want to take out. I honestly probably V or Shockwave. Probably I'd say a V because they're 2-time champs now.
Yeah.
I mean they're the team to beat. Whether they've had a pretty good year. They haven't completely dominated. Like they have in years past. But I mean they're back-to-back champs. They're still the team to beat as far as I'm concerned. And I consider them the best until someone knocks them off. So I'd rather be that team. So.
Yeah, Brick was playing coy on the announcement podcast, like he wasn't going to pick his team to make the Final Four and then select him to win. So I'm sure they're going to come in strong. So,
they suffered a big loss this week.
They did?
Woods is out.
Woods is?
That's the word on the street.
He's a little touch and go, but I mean they're strong. I mean they'll have JC there. They'll have DJ. They'll have arms, but certainly missing out with not having Woods there. We've got him as an ace. Eric, you gonna make it personal, man? Any team you want to send home?
It's actually not as personal as it could seem. Evolution makes the most sense to me. They sent us home in Tampa after we had a shit morning, then figured our shit out, and then we had a failure as captains, and they sent us home because of it. and also in the IKF South Florida tournament. I guess we called them Hammer Evolution at the time. It was Hammerheads and Evolution mixed together. They've walked us off twice, both times we played them. And yeah, we can take it to them, and I'd love to send them home.
Scott, who you want to jump on?
So mine is 100% selfish. Mine would just be straight up Brola, given the ODB history and all that stuff. Mine is not representative of anything on pitch intense, but I know they've got their teams they want to beat. But I know we're all shooting for a V. But for me personally, I would love to send Brola home just because I could fuck with those guys nonstop on a regular, and I would certainly let them have it if I was the part of the team that sent them home. So that would easily be my pick, no question.
I like it. All right, so let's throw one more here in Shit Town.
Hold up. Let's pause it for a second. Mark, you got to pick one on this one. You got to pick a team you want to send home.
Yeah.
Don't get out of this one free.
Who do I want to send home?
Yeah.
Careful, Marcus.
Marcus.
I don't need to be careful. God, the teams I want to send. I mean, honestly, like I think Relax talks a lot of shit, but we've beat them and knocked them out of the tournament before. I mean, they're going to talk a lot of trash anyways. That's their MO. If I'd love to face Berard. Like I think Berard is a stud pitcher, and I think when Big D is running strong, they're really good. They're a team that talks a lot of trash. But I think they're fun to play against because you know what you're getting into when you play against them. But I'd love to beat a Berard, pitching, just straight gas and take that team down. Because I think that, taking down elite pitchers is really what defines really good teams. I mean, you don't beat an ace on a stud squad, and you don't feel nearly as good as when you take them down. So, yeah, I'd probably say Big D on that one. And it's a little bit of a respect play, and that's probably a cop-out. All right, so let's throw one more in here. Thanks for putting me on the seat there.
Yeah.
So for CCC, which team kind of, based on expectations, I wouldn't consider rankings here, but expectations for what you see coming into this and where people are picking for Final Four, which team's going to shit the bed the most here? Let's start with you, Zach.
Man, I don't know. It's tough. I think I would say that you got to write off teams like Second Line and Lizards. They can come in there and easily go 2-2 and make limbs. So I think based on their ranking being that high, I think that it's tough to actually say that they would be shitting the bed if they didn't make a limbs. They got really tough rows to hoe. I think Bombay's could be set up for a tough day. Crossing over against V and playing dibs. And Rage is sort of sneaky dangerous sometimes.
The catcher's out.
Oh, really?
Oof.
Damn. Okay, well, I was going to say Bombay's. I still think that it's still a tough road. You never know with BCC. They're experienced. Brew Crew could easily step up and take out Bombay's. If Bombay's isn't landing kicks, they could be a quick out. They could easily go 1-3 or 1-2-1 and miss. So I think that looks like they look like somebody sitting up there at the top that could easily fall.
Eric, who you got, man?
Man, I'm like looking over it, and all the teams I think will underperform, I don't think they're really expected to do well.
Yeah, so blow us out of the water here. It's a bombshell.
I want to say Sick.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to say Sick. I don't really have a lot of reasoning behind it.
And what's underperforming for them? So is that they get knocked out first round of the limbs?
Not making Elite Eight. I think everyone expects them to be Elite Eight, maybe Final Four material, but I don't think they make it. I mean, they very well could win the whole damn thing, but I think they struggle putting up runs, and I've played in Austin. I don't know how the wind will be, but every time I've played there, the wind's been absolutely nuts. And putting up runs is essential, and that's where they struggle. You know, Flaters looks like a normal human being this year. I mean, for Flater. And, yeah, maybe Corey Holland might have taken half a step back as well. But, you know, it's CCC. They're coming hard.
Yeah. Scott?
But I think they underperformed. Let's go sick.
Yeah. For me, it's relaxed, no question.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because they're home, or generally home, but they've got a lot of players out. Huntley just disappeared from their roster, which is weird because he's home.
Why is Zach not?
I couldn't tell you that. I mean, I don't know. I have no intel on that. But, I mean, it's just Zach, I think, had a wedding, or I couldn't say there. But, I mean, for, like, the year they've had and then coming off of Founders as, like, part of the Texas, like, killer team, like, it's going to be a huge underperformance if they don't make Final Four. And, you know, before this roster, I would have said no question. Sorry, my cat.
Is that the cat?
Yeah, that was the cat. Before this,
That's new roommate.
yeah. Well, the cat just underperformed and shit the bed too. But it's definitely relaxed. I mean, I just don't know what's going on. Like to come weak to this tournament seems crazy given the year they've had. You know, I don't see the gel.
You think they get bounced? Like how early you think they make a limbs, right?
Oh, they'll make a limbs. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they got a pretty tough draw, to be honest. I mean, their crossover's no joke, and
yep.
To be honest, I wouldn't be totally shocked if they went 1-3. I'm not even joking. I mean, I think I wouldn't make that bet, but I think it's a sucker's bet. But I don't see them doing much on the limbs for a team that talks as much as they do.
They could go 1-3.
Yeah.
Brian, what you got, man?
I'm not going to piggyback on the relax. They have an unfortunate situation, so I'm going to leave them alone. But I'm going to go with my crossover opponent. I hope I don't eat my words for this, but I'm going with Cowtown. They'll make a limbs. I mean, I think they've got a pretty smooth, at least 2-2, maybe 3-1, or hell, they could get hot and go 4-0. You never know with them, but I've got them at 2-2, and with my bracket, I've got them seeing Big D in the first round. And what was that? That'd be the round of 24, I guess, right? The first round, the play-in round.
Yeah.
So I've got them bumped in the play-in round by Big D, just because, like Mark, you mentioned already, they've got Perard. That guy can control a game. So I think Big D
expected to do well.
I don't know if they're expected to do well, but I mean they're a 1 seed. I mean regardless of how they got there, they're still a 1 seed.
Right.
I mean, if I see 7-0 one more time, I'm probably going to lose my mind. So that's part of my reasoning as well. So I'm gonna use that 7-0, and I'm probably going to give them some bulletin board material. But yeah, Cowtown play-in round are not going to be playing after that.
All right, so let's flip it around then. So going from Shittown to we have here Growtown. So if you could take one player, we'll start with you, Brian. If you could steal a player from anyone's roster and put him onto yours, who would you take and why? It could be for any reason. Best backstop. It could be for obvious reasons. Player. Whatever you want.
Ooh.
These guys have thought about it, so if you want me to come back, I will.
Yeah, let's come back to me. Give me a minute to prepare for this one.
All right, Eric.
Oh boy. Britt Taylor's probably going to kill me for this, but I'm going to go with Danny Price. I'm going to take her right off Sitch, put her on Hazard. She's a lockdown outfielder, gives a solid girl to attend every tournament. We've been like a carousel of women this year.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'll take any girl that can play outfield like that. And, like, I know Tara's a good outfielder. I don't know her that well. Get over it. I'm going to take Danny Price, and maybe Karan comes along with her, you know?
Yeah.
That'd be like a bonus.
Not a bad trade-off. Yeah.
Danny Price on her own merit. That's who I'm taking.
Scott.
I'm taking Tremaine, no question. Tremaine won a championship playing with our charger and catcher and outfielders with Becca and Nate, our captain. So I think there's some good infield chemistry there. that'd be huge. I mean, having Tommy and Mila, basically. I mean, we're always looking for, like, we don't have Sadler for this one, so we're going, backup pitchers a little here and there, a little bit more than we probably want to. So I think Tremaine, like, come limbs would be huge. I think that would be the one. And then, I mean, that bunt speed, you can't beat it. So that'd be my pick if I could steal one. And then it takes away from, a potential, like, the Final Four contender here. So it's a nice double-edged sword to take Tremaine, put him on pitch intense.
Yeah, that's not a tough pick, but definitely good reasoning there. MVP.
Almost like a cop-out.
Not almost, but not quite.
I gave you my reasons on that one, at least.
Mac, who you taking, man?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I think if I could go out and grab anybody, I feel pretty solid about Dope's pitching and all that. I think if I could take anybody off of any team that's going to be like a total game changer, I would go for offense for our team. And I think I would add Zach from Relax. That dude has been an absolute hoss all year for them. And having that kind of speed and bunting consistency at the top, and I mean, he's almost like a guaranteed run in the top of the first inning. I think that, considering our team sort of struggled with offense a little bit at times this year, I think that'd be a huge add for us. And the guy seems to travel a lot, so I think that would be another benefit, considering how many tournaments we tried to go to this year. And I think that's who I'd grab.
Brian, back to you, man.
All right, I was ready before Zach went, so I'm not piggybacking his offense, but I would definitely take Graffam. I would steal him from Dibs, just so he could have my leadoff spot. He can have my leadoff spot. I'll drop to 2, 3, 6, 7, 10, anchor. I don't care. Like, having that guy to lead off, and I can just chill and do my thing at catcher, I would take it in a heartbeat. And the guy can play any spot on defense, and he won't complain a bit. I could put him in the outfield. I can put him at first base. As long as he's winning, that guy does not care. So for team player and his offensive ability and to take my job, I would take Grafton.
That's solid. That's a coach's answer right there. All right, so let's get into some quick topics here. We're gonna try and run through these quick, so short answers on these. So, taking Shockwave and Sitch versus the field, is it a good bet? So, 50-50.
Oh.
If you got Shockwave and Sitch versus everyone else, would you take that bet? Good bet, bad bet. Let's start with you, Brian.
Yeah, I would probably take that bet. I mean, Sitch is Sitch. As long as they have Gene charging and Blake throwing, they're going to be somewhere, pissing off somebody. And Shockwave, they're loaded. I mean, from what I understand, they added some players and they got Tremaine back and he's killing it at catcher. So I'm absolutely buying that.
I think they'll have him pitching in this tournament too.
I think so.
All right, Eric.
Yeah, total buy. They're the two favorites to win the whole thing, in my opinion. Easy buy. And if y'all want to make the bet, I could probably put a drink on it or something, but I ain't got no money.
I'm sure the odds will be out there soon. Scott?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the bet, but I do have one ripple, and I think it's Austin. I think if the winds get going, I think V is gonna be a really fucking hard out because V can switch from bunts to kicks real quick. And I think that's maybe something. Shockwave's more of a ground pound team. I think that would be the one scenario where I think I want to see the conditions, but I think it's a smart bet, no question. But I think the winds, it's Austin, man. I remember I watched V win in Austin, and they couldn't stop their kicking. So it's not as black and white as I want to make it out to be.
I watched them give up and start walking. Like,
I mean, I've seen some balls travel crazy out there. So if that wind goes, man, I mean, I thought Roosters might be the team to beat. Like, we haven't even mentioned their name once, but
hope not.
Yeah. It could be, man. It could easily turn into a kicking tournament. So keep my eyes on that.
That
Man, I don't know. I guess since everybody said buy, I'm going to take the sell, and I'm going to take the sell mainly because Sitch just seemed to find a way to get out of the last couple circuit cups. Also found a way to lose one pool play game almost every tournament.
That's a Sitch method.
And since they're so heavily reliant on Blake, and I don't know if Blake can throw 5 straight games in a limbs. I think that's a tough ask. So I think for Sitch, that's where I see their weakness. And Shockwave, I know they're coming heavy, but I mean, I think there's 4 or 5 other teams that can not easily play with Shockwave, but they can play with Shockwave and give them a tough game. And I mean, as we've seen in other tournaments, like start playing each other, it's anybody's battle. So if you're going to give me the Goats, Dope, Roosters in a crazy kicking win, 15 who's dangerous, Big D loaded up, I'm going to take all those guys finding a way to be able to beat Shockwave and Sitch at some point in that tournament.
Yeah, I think that's a good opposition take on it. So a number 1 seed, this next one, a number 1 seed will win CCC. All right, so let's start with you, Eric.
Depends on the kind of day we have. You know, if we're not having a great day, then probably. But if we're looking good, number 1 seed ain't winning.
I like it, Brian.
Yeah, I'm buying that 1 seed for sure. There's a 2 seed or 2 that can sneak one out, but I'm taking a 1.
Zach.
I'll take a 1, but I think that I'll add a caveat that I think if anyone that is not a 1 is going to win this, it's going to be sick because they've got Tyson. I mean, they've got Tyson and they've got Corey, and they've got all that veteran leadership. I mean, they made it to Final Four last year, you know, battling on a short squad. But I think overall, the best teams in the country right now are all 1 seeds. I think you've got to bet on one of those guys.
Eric Scott.
Yeah, it's hard to not take that. I think the one way I'll answer that, though, is it's going to be a team that gets that first round bye is going to win this. I don't see any team going 9 games to win this tournament. So that bye is going to be how you win Circuit Cup. I don't see 9 games for any team, even with depth. It's just too long of a day. You're going to have to pitch your pitcher too much somewhere in there. That's what I'm going to say. So if you don't get the bye, you're not winning this tournament.
Have we ever seen 9 before?
I haven't. I mean, people used to play Founders Cup into Circuit Cup back to back, and everyone cramped and died. And I don't see 9 games happen at this level. I think if you don't get the bye, it's over. No matter how deep you are, I think somebody, your catcher, your charger, somebody's going to die. It's not going to happen.
All right, so running Rebels is the Bin 4 takes Pool J. A lot of talk about running Rebels. Had a good performance, I believe, at the Founders Cup. Played DC this year, is that right? And did well there. So
Virginia Beach, I think.
Virginia Beach.
Yeah, Virginia DC.
So starting with you, Brian. So running Rebels takes Pool J. That's got most wanted running Rebels. I don't have it running.
Hammerhead.
Nah, I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna sell on that one. I have them tying most wanted and losing to Hammerheads at 2-1-1. So I'm selling that.
All right, Eric.
It's Hammerhead's pool. They go 4-0 in pool all the fucking time.
Yep, I think it's Hammerhead as well. Scott.
It's going to be between Hammerheads and Rebels. I think that game's it. Hammerheads crosses over at Lot Lizard, so that's should go Hammerheads' way, and Rebels crosses over with Cyanide. So honestly, I think it's going to come down to either that game or just like straight out run differential. I think they're both going to be, I'd say 3-0-1. Let's just say that, and then it's going to come down to how they perform in the other games. It's basically the same pool for both of them. You know, and the crossover, I guess, is a little tougher for Hammerheads, but they're both have the 4-0 look. I think either one of them is going to be 4-0. I'll say that. It's going to be between their game.
Scott.
No. I mean, I think that I think Hammerheads and Most Wanted are both better teams, and I think Most Wanted finds ways to win pool play games for sure. So I think Rebels going to struggle with Most Wanted and Hammerheads. I mean, I think they can go 3-1, but I think that's the best case scenario for them. So no, I don't think they can win that pool.
All right, so last one. Let's make this quick. Final four and then your winner. Let's start with, I know Brian's already got his charted out, I'm sure, for the past couple months. So Brian, what you got, man?
I charted it out this past week. Thank you. Final four, I have Goats and Sick. And hopefully Goats get a little redemption against Sick from last year. And then I have Dope over Shockwave.
And then you have, who do you have winning?
I have Goats over Dope in the finals.
Got it. All right, Eric?
All right, I'm going to go straight realist on this. Shockwave, V, Sitch, and Hazard. And I hate to tell you, Hazard's going to die out there. We only come 13. So I got we're going to go V, Shockwave in the finals, and Shockwave's going to take it.
I didn't come here to lose, so I'm going to take pitch attempts despite all odds. If we get hot kicking and that wind's going, we're going to have a shot at this. So I'm going to put us in there. I know it's not a smart man's bet. Beyond that, I'm keeping V in there. They're proven. They're veteran. They're going to end up with a bye, and they're going to have a good path to win this. So I'm going to take V, Shockwave, Sitch, and us. Despite all odds, we're coming on top.
What you running it through? All right, Zach, what you got?
Man, I hate taking us.
Do it. Just be a dick.
Yeah, I think Stitch and Shockwave are going to be there. I think V's experience is going to put them there. And I really think it's either going to be Sick or us with the fourth spot. So I think for this, I think when you put that Sick squad out there with all that veteran leadership, I'd say Sick. Those are the four most veteran teams here. They know how to play these tough tournaments. Put those four teams in the Final Four. I think Shockwave probably wins the tournament, man. They're so good. But I think they're the best bet. But that's kind of the way I see it shaking out.
Cool. All right. That's it, gentlemen. Thanks again. Brian, thanks for subbing in here. Awesome to have some West Coast representation again.
Yeah.
We'll see everyone at CCC. Take it easy, fellas.
Yeah, for real.
All right.
Oh, hold on. What did we all decide on brisket?
With Franklin closed? I don't know. I'm in for whatever it is, though.
I love brisket.
Joey told me to go some Steins or something like that. Silver Steins or something like that.
I'm trusting.
Style switch.
Style
that
switch.
style switch or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard a couple people. I heard about that from a non-kickball person, and then a couple people on the boards said style switch is legit.
That's it,
Wow.
then.
So I'm pretty sure I'll be trying that.
I hear they have Whataburger out there, too, so might want to give that one a go.
It's no end now.
I get that jacket.
Going awesome.
All right, boys.
We'll save it for the Keep Up podcast.
Yeah, save that one.
All right. Yeah.
All right.